You know, I really said I wasn't going to do this, but here are 5 reasons that this is the year, finally, that Toronto will get out of the first round, in no particular order. Number 1, the Leafs are a better team than they were last year, and the Lightning are not. If Tampa was like up here last season and Toronto was maybe down here, it looks a little more like this right now. Or maybe even this. Depends who you ask. Tampa lost Ryan McDonagh, which has completely shifted their look on the back end. Sergachev is having an awesome year, no doubt about it, but he was good when McDonagh was still there. And Sergachev might have filled the void left by McDonagh, but who fills the void previously filled by Mikhail himself? It's just a question, something to think about. Now, don't get me wrong, Tampa deserves respect. They have earned the benefit of the doubt, but the fact of the matter is, since March 1st, a span of 22 games, Tampa is 9-11-2. Yeah, that's a .455 points percentage, a bottom 10 record, and just one more win than the lowly Philadelphia Flyers over that same time period. Not great, and regardless of how you feel about this switch being flipped, that's a concerning final 6 weeks for the Bolts. Number 2, 291 games in less than 3 years is going to catch up with this team eventually, right? I know people think this whole games played, they're tired, it'll catch up with them narrative is overplayed. But I am not one of those people. That's a lot of hockey, a lot more than Toronto has played at 239 games. It's a difference of 52 playoff games. I mentioned the blue line earlier, right? Well, in the 1920 season, since that season, Victor Hedman has logged more minutes than any other player in the entire league. And the Bolts will have to rely on him more this year than ever before. The games played, those hard-fought playoff-style battles, they matter. Number 3, speaking of battles, this version of the Maple Leafs is more equipped to hold their own than ever before in that area of the game. The addition of Ryan O'Reilly not only gives Toronto the option of depth down the middle, should they opt to use it, but he brings playoff pedigree and knows what it takes. That's valuable in a place like Toronto where they have failed to get out of the first round not once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, but 6 freaking times. As for physicality, O'Reilly can play that game too, but additions like Luke Schenn, Noel Acciari, and Jake McCabe, they embrace it. Tampa is a team that can throw their weight around, right? I mean, the Bolts are 7th in hits per 60 this year. If Tampa pushes, and they will, the Leafs, well, they can push back. We saw a great example of that in their last game of the season when Schenn went toe-to-toe with his former teammate, Patty Maroon. It's clear the Bolts want to play physical, but the Leafs have shown they can play that game too and win. By the way, they won that contest despite the fact that Matthews, Marner, and Gio all didn't play, and the Bolts rostered their whole squad. Just saying. Number 4, since the trade deadline, the Leafs have been the 2nd best team in the NHL in terms of creating offense from the sweet spot. They're 2nd in the league in inner slot shots per game and rebound chances. They're getting to the inside, and they have the personnel now to grease it up, get to those rebounds in front and put them in the back of the net, which is great all on its own. But when you pair that with the fact that Tampa has been mid at limiting shots from the inner slot and bottom of the league in terms of rebound chances against, it sets up as an interesting area to watch in this series. All right, number 5, and I'm excited about this one. Big Willie Styles, my guy, William Nylander. This man has elevated his game to a whole new level this year. Career highs in so many categories: goals, assists, 5-on-5 goals, 5-on-5 assists, even shots on goal. This man has set a career high, and he wanted 40 so bad he took 12 shot attempts last night to get it done in the final game of the season. Now, we all know Nylander has always been a really good player, but there's just something about this guy this year that makes me feel like he's going to have a big stage, big moment. After the game, Nylander was asked if he was proud of his accomplishments this year. His response? I'll be proud when we effing win. And that's just it, regardless of who has the edge going into this series. And there's a reason I have not brought up the goaltending, all right? This is a Homer segment, so we're not going to talk about the goaltending. All that matters, though, is what happens when it's all said and done. In 2 weeks, who got it done? Will the Leafs finally break through, or will Tampa flip the switch one last time? Either way, this series will be a defining moment for both of these teams.